Roma, on the Warrego Highway, is a major regional centre with some beautiful buildings. The tourist centre at the Big Rig complex on the east side of town is our first stop. We're at the Big Rig here, which is just on the outskirts of Roma, just as you come into town on the right hand side. You can't miss it as much as anything because it says Big Rig and it's nice and big. I'm talking to Peter Keegan, and the Keegans have got a pretty fascinating family connection to Roma, but also we're sitting here on the veranda of a house that your great-grandfather built. Is that correct?
My father's grandfather.
Your father's grandfather?
Yeah.
Okay. When was that, Peter?
1893.
And so was this the first house he built here? Or?
Oh no, but it was. It wasn't in fact here. It was about 20 odd mile out of town.
Okay.
And it's been bought out recently to this location.
Yep.
He built it in 1893 on a little starvation block up north of Hodgson. We were here in the. We came up from New South Wales in the 1870s.
Right.
And up through St George, and yeah, this is my country. Yeah.
Yeah, it is your country, isn't it?
Yeah.
Water's always been a problem here, though, hasn't it?
Water's always been a hassle right from square one, and it was that problem with the water shortage that led on to our getting involved in the dubious occupation of drilling for oil in Roma. In 1900, the government, on the council's behalf, was drilling an artesian bore up on Hospital Hill, and in the second hole that they drilled, much to everyone's disgust, 16th of October 1900, they struck a massive flow of natural gas. They were slow off the mark, they being the town and the state government, slow off the mark in utilising that gas. So for 5 years it just flowed to atmosphere. In 1906, 100 years next year, they attempted to reticulate it onto the town, and 14 days after they'd stoked up, lit the first light up, the gas got out. So
how would you be?
Oh, we weren't too impressed, I suppose.
But Roma's still supplying gas to Brisbane, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, that's not from the immediate town area.
Oh, I see.
Once they realised they had gas here, that led on to following the theory that where there was gas there could be oil.
Yep.
We started to search for oil, so much so that by the time our Big Rig here had shut down in 41, there'd been 19 companies drilling for oil in this district, none of which encountered a commercial oil field. But by the mid-1950s, it was obvious we didn't have oil in any consequence. So gas became the obvious product, and we've been sending gas to Brisbane since '69. Roma is fortunate. If Roma was a row of tents, it would still get the same number of people coming through, being positioned as we are, as you know, on the Warrego Highway and the Great Inland Way. So we're blessed very much by a geographical location. And being at the entrance of the town, of course, we get people coming to see us first.
Yes.
And we've got a pretty good information centre over there.
It's a beauty, actually. It must be about the best one on the highway between Brisbane and Darwin, isn't it?
I don't know. I've never travelled to Darwin via the highway, not via the highway anyway.
Oh, okay.
Via the desert, yes, but not via the highway. Yeah, it's a pretty good information centre.
If you're travelling up this highway, everything comes back to dropping in and meeting the Keegans at the Big Rig, because they've got all the local information. It's no wonder why, after that many generations. We better get off the veranda, eh?
You never know. The sun's going down.
Time for a drink. Good on you, Peter.
Okay, righto.
It's really interesting that wherever you go, the most significant buildings in any town are the pubs and the churches. Well, I can't say too much about the churches, but Roma's got some beautiful pubs. Here on the Western Downs between Roma and Mitchell, you'll pass through some magnificent agricultural country. It's rich and lusty with beautiful outback sunsets. It's a great area to visit and explore because there's all sorts of things not that far off the highway.
Major Mitchell Caravan Park, mate. How good is this?
Oh, mate, it's a beauty. I've seen this one often enough from the road going up here, but it's really nice to pull in here, isn't it?
The sites are really good. You don't often see too many drive-through sites.
Not out in the sticks, no.
Yeah, that's right, not out in the sticks. And these are just perfect and wide tracks, drive-throughs, good amenities, and plenty of...
Yeah, they're a good sized site, aren't they?
Yeah, mate, plenty of room for the old hurler.
Yeah, I like not having to unhitch. How's the trippy going anyway?
The trippy's going all right. The suspension's probably not ideal for pulling a couple of tonne, but yeah, you know, as it is, it's going pretty well. It's actually almost clean.
I noticed that. That's the first time it's been washed in a few years.
It's almost clean, that thing. What about these things? Okay, en suites.
I know.
En suites.
I'll tell you what, I'm glad I haven't brought the handbrake along on this trip, mate. If she saw one of these, she'd want one in the backyard just for me. I wouldn't get back. I wouldn't get back in the house again. No, I'll tell you. Right. How much did we pay for these sites?
$18.50.
$18.50.
It's not bad, really. It's pretty
well,
good.
we paid $19 the other night in Toowoomba just for a conventional site, didn't we?
For a conventional site, that's right.
So
this is ensuite, plenty of room.
Yeah,
pretty good.
I mean, you know, on a trip like this, you'd probably need to bush camp a few nights to keep your budget in order, but it's a nice location. River there, Mitchell there, perfect. I like this place.
Yeah, river's muddy, mate. It's probably full of yabbies.
Oh, how come you're not down there?
Oh,
I thought you'd be down there trying to pull something out.
I was going to have a look, but then I thought, oh no, there's full of carp, mate. Swamp trout.
Oh.
Full of swamp trout.
Can't you run them through the mincer or something? I mean,
well, you could probably put them through the mincer if you wanted to.
Good on you.
Driving through Mitchell at the moment. Believe it or not, my grandfather was the postmaster here many years ago. So Mum tells me. At the major Mitchell caravan park where we just stayed, it's $18.50 a night for a site. But for that, you get an ensuite site, as we've shown you, and you also get 2 nights free, which is pretty good value, because if you're travelling around the place and you want to stay for 3 days, it costs you roughly about $6 a night, which is real good value. We're on the highway heading towards Orgethella. We're still on the Warrego Highway. The Warrego between Toowoomba and Mitchell is pretty wide. It's not a bad sort of road. It can get quite bumpy in a lot of parts though. Looks a bit like they've stuck the tar over a corrugated road. It's not real thick guitar at times either. It's pretty good driving. It's as I say, nice and wide, but with all the bumps and hollers and humps and all that sort of stuff, you've got to be a little bit careful with the caravan because it can dance around just a touch if your hitches and your suspension and everything's not quite right. We haven't had any trouble cruising along on the speed limit, but anything, you know, it depends on the driver, but a little under the speed limit would probably be ideal as far as running this highway is concerned. But it's not too bad a road.